shit, we're already on. Okay, let me make this a little bit quieter. And hi. Alright, so it's give me a moment. It's Saturday. I haven't streamed since Monday. Because, well, in the beginning of this week, I said I wanted to do the model upgrade, like the new outfit, this week. Well, I mean, tomorrow is still Sunday, so I guess it's happening. Negative is I spent this entire fucking week with Blender and then Unity copulating my brain sideways, so that's a bit unpleasant. Right. I mean, can't really complain about Blender. Problem there was mostly that my PC is a little bit of a potato, which is, you know, fair enough, I suppose. Then it went to Unity. First, not all animations want to export to Unity. Speaking of, okay, Unity is a great engine. It has an animator, and that animator basically lets you do, well, anything that changes some number. You want to actually like animate some movements, like how my wings are now moving. Okay, fine, do that. You want to change some material, like so, for example. Sure, go right ahead and call it an animation. You want to do fucking anything that changes some number when it's all made of numbers, go right ahead, buddy. But if you have a humanoid character, you know, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, all that stuff, and you want to actually animate some humanoid bones, nope. No can do, boss. Not happening. Do it in something else, which is in Blender, for example. But exporting it from Blender to Unity is an entirely different topic. Yeah? So then, okay, exported some animations from Blender to Unity. Some worked fine, some took a bit of tinkering, but in the end worked fine. One of them had like basically an arm gesture, fingers moving a bit, right? Like cycled, you know? And one, basically a thing that I have in my hand, rotating. Well, the thing in my hand is a separate bone, like not a humanoid one. And guess what? That shit decided not to work for some reason. Just nope, not doing it. Why? Hell if I know. I mean, not the worst thing, I can actually make that work in Unity, but kinda annoying, you know? Especially since in the other, like, more like pose animations, that same bone moves fine. So, what the fuck? Right. Then also, the fucking shaders, man. Metal materials look dark as fuck in any situation at all. I added some lighter lines on my head to, you know, make angles more pronounced, cause this one kinda looks like shit, especially... Okay, it looks great in my actual, like, software that animates it, right? It looks okay-ish on Twitch. Whenever I post something on YouTube, YouTube fucks up the quality completely and it's a black blob. Okay, so I added some like lighter lines. Great. Well, here's one problem. They are not really much lighter in the end result, you know? But here's this thing, right? Much lighter grayish lines are not much lighter. At the same time, literally one step lighter on RGB scale on my nose is a very much pronounced change of colors that is quite hard to ignore. So what the fuck? Also, the fucking roughness map. Yeah. I don't know, man. Try to add some like reflectiveness to the same end, basically. Well, there is definitely quite a difference between like spots on the map that controls it, but in the end result, either I'm fully fucking oiled up or there is nothing. Fuck. And the last and also the easiest to understand probably part just happened today. So I'm using the Varodo SDK to like export the model to Varodo, which is what I use for streaming, yeah? Okay. So I try to export, no errors, build successful, no file created. Okay. Change that a bit, throw some stuff around, tried to set up a separate tried to set up the entire thing again. Not that hard, so that's fine. Finally got an error. The error says, sorry bro, your file ends up being more than 2 gigabytes and we are not supporting that currently. Okay, well that's a chunker. What the fuck happened there? Right, what can we do? Cause I don't want to nerf my textures into oblivion. Huh. Oh, what's that setting? Prioritize build time or prioritize file size? Okay, let's try prioritizing file size. Right. So it builds for like 4 minutes. It actually creates file. I look at it. 200 megabytes. How the fuck? Like 2 gigabytes, 200 megabytes. What? Yeah, I don't know, man. This shit is wacky. Well, all that being said, it's sorta ready. I do want to tweak a couple more things, but it's more or less done, so yeah, debut tomorrow. Okay, well then. All of that was to say that my brain is absolutely fucking fried, so we are doing like, I don't know, Wordle and Reacts today. Basically, you know, something that doesn't make me think at all. Shit, I also need to do something with my setup. Like, here's my problem, okay? I can have a webcam on top of my monitor, like right now, which works, I mean, not great, but decent for example, me being able to use like hand tracking at least. Yeah, so that kinda works. Problem is, whenever I go into, well, shrimp posture, basically, more like whenever I am not completely fucking straight and with my head looking like up-ish. See, like right now, my mouth moves fine. Now, if I just relax a bit, my head is a bit down, I get a bit more comfortable, and my mouth barely moves. Yeah. So that sucks. Now, I could fix it by moving my webcam like down. Problem is, the position where I can put it like down there is a bit closer, which means my hand tracking is completely fucked because there is just not enough angle for it. So, yeah, that also is quite a pickle. Right. Well, I'll figure that one out eventually. Hopefully soon. I mean, I suppose it's kinda good that it basically makes me worry about my posture. Problem is, I am very much not comfortable with posture. I suppose that's on me, huh? Right. Well, let's yeah, let me start like getting all this prepped and getting down to business, huh? Cause I don't know, it probably won't be like a long stream, cause I still would like to take care of a couple things today. Well, I mean, today. Okay, let's be real. What I mean by today is the part of tomorrow that is, for me, technically today. You feel me? Okay, so we're gonna do this first. We're gonna do... Fuck, I had something open. I should probably have it like in history. Oh yeah, it's right here. Don't start it yet if you don't mind. Okay, I guess you don't mind. Great. And then we'll need just straight up YouTube to, I don't know, find something. There's probably a bunch of new daily dose, so that's nice. Right, skip the flashbang on Wordle and go to here. Okay. Right. Well then. Standard start. I am still very smart. I've seen better. Okay. That is not bad at all. Well, it's not Lodge. But... I mean, it might be not the worst idea to try. Also, it's not Olive, which sucks. Uh, Fuck it, let's do this. Maybe get some positions at least, because my fried brain is not computing this yet. Okay, so O is second, that is nice. L is somewhere there. E is, I mean, probably, like, most likely 4, could be 3. I don't think it would be 1, like, it's technically possible, but that's quite a bit of it technically, you know what I mean? Right, so... Is Rolex a word here? Apparently not. Okay, Molex probably isn't the word either. Huh. This is certainly a pickle. Okay. How about we try this? Okay, I found the E. Also there is a T, so that's nice. And... okay. So it's either OLED or hotel, so... hotel? Question mark? Motel? Are there any other options? Just to assess my chances? I don't think so. Okay, well, it's motel and it took me way more attempts than it should have. Or maybe not, I don't know. Okay, so, this, I don't know, I just saw this like randomly pop up in recommendations. And I was like, huh, this might be fun.
The Soulsborne games, you know.
Okay, so the only thing is, cut the music, make this way louder, also put OBS here so I can control exactly how loud it is compared to me. And back to the start.
The Soulsborne games. You know them, you love them. These games have reached legendary status in the gaming world and are considered by many to be the gold standard for action RPGs in this day and age. In fact, these games are so popular nowadays that they have created their own subgenre, creatively named Souls-like. There's a lot of different factors that come together to make these Soulsborne games what they are. See my video of what's actually Souls-like if you want a deeper dive as to which these factors are. But for all their glory and prestige, these games are not perfect. They are fantastic, everything is or right. In this video, I'll be going over the Soulsborne games developed by From Software, starting with Demon Souls and ending with Elden Ring, and choosing what the best quality of that game is, as well as the worst. Because I prefer to end with positive notes, I'll be starting with the worst quality and then talking about the best of each game. So sit back, grab an Estus, and let's get into it.
I'll see if I'll be skipping through parts or not.
Picking a worst feature was pretty challenging, as I don't think the game suffers from any glaring flaws, but rather is just not as polished as later installments. Demon Souls was, of course, the very first Soulsborne game from what I've seen developed, so it stands to reason that
not
the
much
formula
because I
wouldn't be
don't have a
perfected
PS.
yet. But since I do have to choose a worst feature, I would have to pick its linearity. Demon's Souls is the only Soulsborne game that works exclusively on a level-based world system. Each world exists on its
fair
own,
enough.
and there is no connectivity between the worlds whatsoever. And of course, this takes away from the immersion factor. You can't feel exactly like you're exploring a world if the world is basically broken up into distinct segments. Again, it's a level-based system rather than a semi-open world system, which is what we get moving forward. It's not the worst thing in the world, to be honest. Getting into Demon's Souls after already having played most of the Souls games was actually pretty refreshing, since its linearity meant that I didn't have to worry too much about missing out on important secret areas or something. But yeah, it definitely takes away from the exploration part of the Souls games that we love so much. Now, as for the best quality, I was torn between two choices, but at the end I decided to go with the boss uniqueness. The bosses in Demon's Souls are not the best of the series, to be sure. However, they are, in my opinion, by far the most unique. Demon's Souls was much more experimental when it came to bosses compared to all the other later games. Most bosses in Demon's Souls have unique gimmicks or mechanics that give them their own personal flavor. And while not all of these mechanics are great, they certainly lead to more interesting and memorable boss fights. I distinctly remember each and every single boss fight in Demon's Souls. And yes, part of the reason is because it doesn't have a lot of bosses to begin with, but another big part of that reason is because the bosses are unique. Later installments focus much more on the bread and butter combat of the Soulsborne games, which, don't get me wrong, works extremely well. But Demon's Souls wasn't afraid to experiment with interesting
works extremely well until you meet the Crucible Knight number 648.
And I respect it for that. So that's it for Demon's Souls. Let's move on to Dark Souls 1. Now, for the worst feature of Dark Souls 1, my choice would have to go to the bosses. Now, don't get me wrong, Dark Souls 1 has some very good bosses like Ornstein and Smough, Night Artorias, and Manus, but for the most part, I think the bosses in Dark Souls 1 are easily its worst feature. And while I wouldn't say that the boss quality in Dark Souls 1 is much worse than the boss quality in Demon's Souls, I would say that Dark Souls 1 bosses are far more boring than the ones in Demon's Souls. Yes, I don't like the Dragon God fight in Demon's Souls, it's annoying and tedious, but at the very least it's memorable, it's different. Half of the bosses in Dark Souls 1 not only kinda suck, but they're also boring as fuck. You know, you have random demon on a bridge, tutorial boss, which is actually pretty good for a first boss fight, appearing twice more for no goddamn reason. A giant sewer dragon with a massive health pool, a giant lava bug on a tiny speck of land.
Sewer dragon, I would say, is kinda, you know, like, I suppose it's it works for a lot of Dark Souls 1 that it's all very gimmicky, like when you know that you just need to hit Gaping Dragon's tail, or when you figure out how to fight Quillag, when somehow, like, everyone seems to struggle with her the first time, and then never do a second attempt ever again. Like, first time it's fucking 10 attempts, 20, whatever, how the fuck do you do this, and you figure out how to do it, and never die to her again. Gaping Dragon, as I said, you just hit the tail, and like, a lot of them, once you figure them out once, you're just done.
Don't even get me started on this thing. Though, to be fair, the Bed of Chaos is absolutely a memorable fight. It's just that it's memorable for all the wrong reasons. So yeah, the bosses for me are Dark Souls 1's worst quality.
I mean, from my understanding, it's not that different from that dragon thing from Demon's Souls that he just mentioned, no? I don't know, I didn't actually play, as I said. No PS.
This was a no-brainer, it's the world and by extension the exploration. Dark Souls 1 is almost the polar opposite of Demon's Souls in that it features an almost completely interconnected world.
There was
a world
no
in
second
which different
option,
areas
honestly.
that seem far away from each other are actually connected. The Firelink Shrine, the hub area of Dark Souls 1, actually acts as a middle connecting point to several of the game's locations.
Honestly, I miss this so much in
later
games.
The New Londo ruins, as well as the Valley of Drakes, which then connects to Blighttown. It connects to the catacombs and by
this was actually awesome.
And not to mention that it connects to the Kiln of the First Flame, the final area of the base game. after you gather the 4 Lord Souls. And this is just an example. In general, the world of Dark Souls 1 is almost fully connected, with the exception of Anor Londo and all subsequent areas, as well as the painted world of Ariamis, which really is meant to be disconnected from the rest of the world. And this creates a big semi-open world that is filled with secrets and rewards thorough exploration. A favorite example of this is the Ash Lake, an area that is located at the very bottom of Lordran, the world of Dark Souls 1. To find it, you need to get through Blighttown, through an invisible wall, twice, and down a great hollowed out tree filled with basilisks. This area is completely hidden away and is extremely easy to miss. It houses a Hydra and an ancient dragon which lets you join its covenant.
Tomb of Giants, I think, which is
Is
cool.
it kinda underwhelming? Sure, but I love the fact that there's a whole hidden area underneath the world that is so easy to miss. And these are the kinds of things that make exploration
It's kinda
worthwhile.
nice and chill
Even
too.
with the world design suffering from a drop in quality in the second half of the game, as is the case with all other aspects of Dark Souls 1, it's still the game's best quality in my opinion. And that concludes Dark Souls 1, so let's proceed with Dark Souls 2.
This part.
Now, Dark Souls 2 is absolutely an awesome game. I know that it's a meme, I know that many people like to shit on it. Does it have
Right here, buddy. Fuck this awesome game. And this place especially. Bro just show some honor straight up.
its fair share of problems? Absolutely. Do I think it's as good as some of the other games on this list? No. But I
Or any of them for that matter. Or even close for that matter. But yeah, I suppose if you put it against like Concord or... Okay, actually it is very much comparable to Mass Effect Andromeda now that I think about it. Yeah, let's just leave it at that.
still really enjoyed it and recognize that, in spite of all of its flaws, Dark Souls 2 has a surprising amount of good qualities. But more on that on a bit.
But animations
For now,
are not
let's
one
get
of
into
them.
its worst quality, which was probably the easiest choice I had to make in this entire video, its enemy placement. Probably Dark Souls 2's most infamous feature is the absolutely atrocious enemy placement that it features on many of its levels. So I should clarify that by placement, I don't necessarily mean where the game chooses to insert the enemies, but the sheer density and volume of them.
Well, I was just going to say that, so maybe you should just call it the amount of enemies,
Areas
I
would
don't
have
know.
been perfectly
But
fine
yeah, that
with
is...
half the enemies being present. Let that sink in for a bit. Half of them. On multiple occasions, you're just walking around and suddenly being barraged by enemy after enemy after enemy. It really makes for a miserable experience that does not work well at all with Souls combat. And another extension of this problem is the run back to bosses. Now, typically on a quote-unquote proper playthrough of a Souls game, you would first explore and clear out an area, search for items, unlock the shortcuts, and then make your way to the boss. After you inevitably die, you would then run back to the boss fight without bothering to kill any more enemies or explore any more of the area, since you've already done those things. But in Dark Souls 2, the sheer enemy density, the slower character speed, and the fact that entering fog gates does not give you invincibility means that
it's just the last one, by the way. Like, you can sort of maneuver through all that shit, but if there is not enough distance in the end, for example, like before the Alone fight, where there is just a long straight corridor after the last enemies. Okay, my arms are going crazy. Hang on, let me maybe make it better. Okay, let's see how this works. Yeah, like, when you have time to actually run away from enemies, it doesn't matter, but if they are close, then honestly, just the invincibility from the fog gate would fix
your only
everything.
option is to keep killing the enemies of that area, lest half or more of your attempts to go back to the boss end up with you dying at the fog gate. And I don't think I have to explain or rationalize why this is such a horribly tedious procedure. Even the devs probably realized this, as Dark Souls 2 is the only Souls game, as far as I'm aware of, in which enemies will permanently despawn after being killed a certain number of times. So yeah, enemy placement and density, definitely unquestionably Dark Souls 2's worst feature.
Just
now,
density,
the best
but
quality
yeah.
for Dark Souls 2 was actually fairly challenging. as I think that for all its flaws, Dark Souls 2 does a lot of things right. Its world and level design is very good, aside from the enemy placement of course. It's fun to explore, it has a high boss density, which admittedly does lead to pretty bad bosses, oftentimes, but it
Uh-huh.
segments gameplay better in my opinion. But possibly the reason why Dark Souls 2 continues to have such a dedicated following all these years later, and in spite of the fact that it's being shunned by the broader community, is the additional layer of complexity and overall improvements to combat and build crafting. With things like power stancing, armor being more important due to more added effects, attack cancelling, more options for dual wielding, and generally tons of small but noticeable changes that
Bro said power stancing and separately more options for dual wielding. Like, isn't it just the same, or am I just too melee coded? But yeah, okay, that is like. I can't argue, but I think it's like the only thing they actually got right. Some locations look nice as well, but with heavy emphasis on some, so I wouldn't say it's like actually good in that regard.
massively improved this aspect of the game from Dark Souls 1, especially for the PvP side. A lot of people believe that Dark Souls 2 had, and still possibly has, the best PvP sphere of all the Souls games. However, this is not my
Ah,
personal pick, because it would be kinda dishonest. Dark Souls 2 was the very last Souls game I played, and I never really got into PvP or complex build crafting. No, my personal pick is the atmosphere and biome diversity. It's
okay, let's unpack this. Well, first off, I suppose PvP kinda was okay in the beginning, but even then, I don't know. I suppose it's just the extension of the build variety and shit that he mentioned earlier. Because I don't know, it has like I suppose all Souls games have this fucking synchronization thing where uh, you just you roll to the side of a guy, boom, he backstabs you even though he was like at best to the side on your screen instead of at the back. But yeah, I think Dark Souls 2 has the biggest problem with that. Though it kinda has a window where you can dodge a backstab, so that's probably. I don't know, like, okay, PvP is fine. Atmosphere and biomes, so I mean, I'll let him speak, but I am not convinced.
kinda difficult to put into words, but when I'm exploring a Dark Souls 2 area, I'm really feeling the vibe of that area. I really feel like I'm in a lost forest, a temple, some mines, a dying castle. Dark Souls 2 does a really good job through a combination of level design and graphic design to make these places come alive, in a way that is comparable or even better than Demon Souls and perhaps even Elden Ring. And that's it for good old Dark Souls 2.
Okay, well, I can't really like. It's very wide based take, so I can't even argue with that. Like he says, it makes him feel like. He says he feels like the areas really show what they are like trying to do and stuff. I don't feel like they are doing a particularly good job of that, so. But I mean, that's just it, right? He does feel that way, I don't. That's it. We're done
Which
here.
takes us to Bloodborne. Now, Bloodborne is
Okay.
the fan favorite of the community and as such can have low flaws, so let's move on to the best feature. Nah, I'm messing with you. Bloodborne is a great game, of course, but, and I understand I risk getting hanged and thrown rocks at by saying this, it's not flawless. It's difficult to pinpoint a worst feature though, as Bloodborne doesn't really suffer
As someone who doesn't have a PS, it's very easy to pinpoint the worst feature of Bloodborne.
from any glaring flaws the way other Souls games do. It's mostly a collection of small problems that don't really stand out individually. It doesn't have the best boss quality, sure. Its level design is not always great, but none of these really stand out as huge issues.
I suppose
And I could
he
take the
will
lame,
say
easy way out and say
that
that
farming for
Bloodborne's
heals
worst feature
sucks.
is the fact that it's locked at 30 FPS, or that it doesn't have a remake or remaster or a sequel, but these aren't really
Or
the
a
kinds of
PC
things
port.
I'm looking for in this video. They're true, but they're more like meta problems, not actual problems with the game
Yeah,
itself.
that's fair.
So, and I apologize for this being sort of a lame choice, but I'm going with perishable healing items. Oh
Hey.
good god, why is this
Called
a
it.
thing? Demon's Souls and Bloodborne are thankfully the only two games that feature this system, and I just can't understand why anybody thought this would be a good idea. Yes, having non-refillable healing items allows you to stack up. Blood vials can actually go up to a stack of 20, which means that at any given time you can spend some time farming them and then go in a boss fight with much more healing power than what you'd have on other Soulsborne games. But even that's not really so much of a positive. I mean, if you can just quote-unquote out-heal a boss and beat it that way, then that's kinda missing the point. Don't
Okay, I will... I was waiting for a bit, I'll just stop here. Buddy mentions Demon Souls, was it? You know, I would mention Dark Souls 2, where you can just buy a fuck ton of life gems and have basically unlimited heals, and it's not even a problem to do. And Estus sucks because of ADP anyway, so you are just using the life gems if you're actually like trying. So yeah, about that.
get me wrong, that is a perfectly viable strategy and you're allowed to do it. It just goes against the spirit of the Soulsborne games a little bit, if you ask me. But that's not the major problem with perishable healing items. The problem is when you actually run out and have to go back to farm more, especially where you're in the middle of trying to beat a boss. I tell you, nothing's more frustrating than being in that zone, you know, in that groove, where you've been fighting a boss a couple times, you're starting to learn patterns, you're getting closer to beating it each time, and then oh, you're out of vials, gotta go back and kill some trolls for 3 minutes to stock up. It really pulls you out of that groove and it's annoying
I said
as
it myself that
Alright,
DS2
and for
doesn't have
Bloodborne's
that part,
best
I
quality,
suppose.
it's hands down the lore and theme of the game. For me, Bloodborne has the most interesting lore out of all the Souls games. The whole Eldritch Lovecraftian vibe this game has going on is absolutely amazing. The mix of light horror elements in the game are just enough to provide a different flavor that sets it apart from the other Souls games. Bloodborne slowly opens up as you progress through it, and the true nature of its world, as well as what the hell is going on, is slowly being revealed to you. At first you have to deal with mostly beasts and corrupted hunters, but then after you progress far enough, you start encountering more outwardly and alien horrors. Trying to figure out what happened to trigger the scourge, learning about the immensely powerful eldritch creatures known as the Great Ones, realizing that the Yarnam you're seeing at the beginning of the game is actually not its true state, as there is a layer of illusion here to prevent you from seeing its true nature. All of these things fall right into my list of what I love in a Lovecraftian game.
Seems like
so let us move on to Dark Souls 3.
It does a better
Dark Souls 3 is
job
probably
at
the
what
Souls
he
game
said
I've played the
about
most.
DS2.
So thankfully both my choices for the worst and best quality were fairly easy. For the worst Dark Souls 3 quality, I've chosen its desaturated art design. I'm actually really glad that I have a chance to talk about this because I've been wanting to for a long time now. One thing that is very apparent in Dark Souls 3 is that it looks very quote-unquote grayish. Its colors are
I don't
not
dislike
as
it, but
vibrant as other Soulsborne games. So much so that it feels kinda
certainly
odd.
there.
Now this is absolutely done by design and is tied to the lore of the game. In the world of Dark Souls 3, the fire has been relinked countless times ever since the Age of Gods that took place even before the events of Dark Souls 1. This relinking of the fire is unnatural and goes against the very tendency of the world, which is cyclical. The fire is meant to fade away, giving way to the Age of Dark, and then, presumably, after some time, the fire would eventually appear again, as it did at the beginning, to give way to a new Age of Fire. But
okay, he's kinda not giving me a lot to add.
The world has been tricked into relinking the fire over and over, unnaturally prolonging the current age and basically causing the world to decay and rot, which is what the grey and unsaturated palette is meant to represent. And while there is a very good reason for this choice of art design, I still hate it. It makes many
I
areas of
mean,
Dark
I
Souls
don't
3 feel
hate it,
samey.
but
It doesn't
yeah,
help
it's
me
not the
immerse
most
myself in the
appealing.
atmosphere of each area, with some exceptions of course, and overall I just don't like looking at it that much. I know, it's not exactly a philosophical or spiritual debate, but yeah, that's actually my major issue with Dark Souls 3. I don't like looking at the world. So, moving on to the best feature, the best aspect of Dark Souls 3 was a no-brainer as well. For anybody who watched my Soulsborne games ranked by boss quality video, which I will link to, but beware, it has some hot takes, this shouldn't come as a surprise at all. It's of course the bosses of Dark Souls 3. Dark Souls 3, in my opinion, was where From Software really hit big with their bosses. Of course, there were amazing bosses in previous games, but in overall boss quality, Dark Souls 3 for me is unmatched. There are very few bosses in the game that I actively don't like. Pretty much just 3. A few that I find okay, and
yeah.
many that I love. With
I sure
examples like the
agree
Nameless
with
King, the Soul of
unmatched
Cinder, the
part
Abyss
in
Watchers,
Hint
Pontiff
and
Sullivan,
Elden Ring.
and if we want to get into the DLCs, Sister Friede, Meteor, and Slave Knight Gale, the list goes on. Dark Souls 3 is absolutely stuffed with awesome bosses. It's worth noting that with Bloodborne acting as this sort of intermediary, Dark Souls 3 was where this faster movement of the latter Soulsborne games really solidified, with the games turning slightly more towards a more reactive and faster combat rather than a slower, more positioning-based combat, which the older games feature. Now, positioning
Yeah,
is still
but not
important
too
in the newer
much.
games, just not as much as in the older ones. But this led to faster, more aggressive, and overall more heart-pounding boss fights, which are absolutely Dark Souls 3's best feature. And
so, like, here's my thing, okay? And for the record, I'm like a slow guy. Like, anything React based is a challenge to me. So, like, this kinda was, you know, just right, because it still gives you time to actually, like, know what you're doing, even if you're kinda slow, and actually, do meaningful things. And sorta, how should I put it? Like, it's more of a learning thing than a reacting thing, is what I'm trying to say. And then they sorta hit a wall with how far they can take this part. And so Elden Ring went into, for example, random times before the attack to make you actually react. And that went, that just went straight up into the react thing, and to me it sucks. So, yeah, this was kinda the best overall feel for me.
so, let us proceed. Alright, Sekiro's up next, one of my personal favorites of the Soulsborne games. But technically Sekiro isn't a Soulsborne game. So for me, Sekiro's worst quality is its difficulty curve, particularly in the beginning. Now, let me explain myself. When I say difficulty curve, I
No
don't...
need, but yeah, okay, like, trying to figure it out at first is... it fucking sucks. I actually just straight up dropped it the first time. I don't know, man. It just fucking sucks. And honestly, like, I suppose it's not quite my type of game regardless. But, like, first time I just straight up fucking dropped it, I think, on the old lady, what's her name? Like, Madame Butterfly or something. Yeah. The second time I tried, a friend told me that you can actually spam parry, and that got me through most of the game. But, like, I suppose it's topical to me being slow. It was until the fucking Sword Saint Ishin that I actually found my groove and started to enjoy it, which is, final boss, about time. Yeah.
I mean, wah, Sekiro too hard, wah. The game is incredibly hard, debatably the hardest out of all the Soulsborne games, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But in my opinion,
I
Sekiro's
wouldn't
difficulty
go that
curve
far.
is kinda flawed. Sekiro is
It's just
way too
very
hard in
hard
the
in the
early game,
beginning, and
gets
then when you
significantly
kinda
easier
figure it
at
out,
around the
it's...
mid game, and then gradually gets harder again going into the end game.
That's what she said.
I mean,
A lot of
about
people
right, I
say that
wouldn't say
Sekiro is
too
incredibly
hard in
hard
the end
until
game,
the
though.
combat quote-unquote clicks, at which point it becomes significantly easier. Typically for most players this would be around the mid-game. Now I do agree with this to an extent. Sekiro certainly introduced a novel combat system
As I just
compared
said,
to the other
Sword
Soulsborne games,
Edition.
similar enough to feel like it could be in the same category, but different enough for even veteran players to need some time learning it. But I don't actually think that this is the only reason the early game of Sekiro is so challenging. I think the game is just kinda not that well balanced in the early game. You have almost zero utility tools from the prosthetic arms, enemies deal way too much damage, mini bosses are just unbelievably brutal, and in general it's just a very hard time. Now combine that with the fact that Sekiro introduces its own combat system, which means that not even veteran Souls players can go in prepared, and this leads me to think that From Software should have done a better job balancing out the early game. Maybe give you some more tools to strengthen your character earlier, make enemies hit a little less hard, maybe lower the enemy density a bit. But yeah, that's my major gripe with the game. And to be honest, it's not really that big of an issue. It's just that I couldn't really think of much else here. The game is nearly flawless in my eyes. Now, as for the best feature, this would be hands down the movement and by extension the exploration. The jump in Sekiro, which was of course later added to Elden Ring, felt so refreshing. Combine that with the grappling mechanic, and the game gained a whole
don't
new
get me
level
wrong,
of
like,
exploration
it's
and world design
nice,
in
but
verticality. There are so many neat little places to reach and secrets to find in Sekiro, and it's all thanks to its much more robust movement. And aside from jumping and grappling, you can also both swim and dive in this game, which opens up even more avenues for world design and exploration. Seriously, if you haven't played Sekiro, please give it a try. It's kinda different from the other Soulsborne games and will absolutely kick your ass, but it's so fucking good, I swear.
okay, can I just say, here's my opinion, Ishin is the best thing about Sekiro. Like, as a character, as a final boss in both his, forms, and, I mean, as I said, it's not like quite my style still, so I am not an actually big fan of Sekiro, but Sword Saint Ishin is the best boss in like all the FromSoft games. At least all of the games on this list here. So, yeah. The best thing about Sekiro is just Ishin.
And finally, we have reached Elden Ring. Now, I'm just gonna come out and say it. If I had to choose one overall best Soulsborne game, it would objectively have to be Elden Ring, just due to its sheer size and magnitude. Is it the best Soulsborne game in all?
Okay, well, if we are judging like that, then I suppose Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Valhalla or... Well, one of those two are... Both of those two, I suppose, are actually like fucking awesome 10 out of 10 games, which they are fucking not. So, yeah. I don't know, man. Size doesn't equal good.
All categories? No. Does it have flaws? Absolutely. But flaws are much easier to excuse in a massive open world game with 150 plus hours of gameplay for a proper playthrough. So while I don't think it's flawless, the game is
How the fuck? Hang on. Do I have it installed still? Like, good for me that I have a fuck ton of hard drives. And for the record, I completed it only twice. Yes, I do have it installed. Let me check that theory. Actually, I'm not even gonna launch it. I have 146 hours in Elden Ring. That is 2 playthroughs. And the first one I was struggling, so it took a while. And the second one I was quite thorough, so... I don't know, man, how the fuck?
absolutely a masterpiece and definitely the magnum opus of Miyazaki and From Software, for now at least. Now, choosing the worst feature of Elden Ring is very difficult. I could go for the awful double boss fights, for which I've rambled on a lot in my previous videos, but to be honest, bad double boss fights
More
are a
like
problem in general in
repetitive
From
boss
Software games.
fights,
It's just more
mostly.
prevalent in Elden Ring. I could choose the fact that the game is filled with basic bosses that are basically variants of normal enemies, but these bosses
That
typically
too, yeah.
exist in random dungeons throughout the lands between. They're more like a necessary evil. It would be impossible to fill like 50 plus dungeons with unique bosses after all.
See, this is why I have the problem with him saying, like, it's the best just because of its sheer fucking size. Well, if you have 50 dungeons filled with, like, Cerberus and Pumpkin Heads and Crucible Knights number 486 and Trolls and whatever else repetitive shit, well, you wouldn't lose much just by not having those 50 dungeons. And like, it's not like in those catacombs or random caves. It's not like there is a bunch of lore hidden in them that makes it all worthwhile, you know? It's basically the same shit in this regard as fucking Assassin's Creed with a bunch of repetitive stuff that just fills them up. Like fucking Hogwarts Legacy, for crying out loud. Like, it's just some. It's like they just made a big fucking world, and then they put a lot of stuff in it that exists just to fill the big fucking world. That simply doesn't have to be that big. You see what I mean?
So I'm going for a controversial pick, which is the overtuning of bosses, specifically in terms of aggression. Now, I have talked about this a number of times already, and whenever I bring it up, inevitably I'll get some angry comments on how quote unquote I need to get good, and quote unquote it's just a matter of skill. Look, just because something gets criticized doesn't necessarily mean that it's always from a place of frustration or any strong negative feelings. And to me, many bosses are just flat out overtuned. They are hyper aggressive, they don't leave enough time between their attacks for counter-attacking, they perform combos that take a long amount of time to finish, and generally they force your attack to dodge ratio to be very, very low if you don't want
Yep.
to or can't tank hits.
All of
And that's
that.
not me saying that these bosses are bad, it's just that I'd like to attack more and dodge less. Not by a lot, but definitely somewhat. In a lot of fights in Elden
And then also they just fucking wait until hit Death of the Universe between, like, uh, fuck, my English is bad. Between, like, swinging and actually attacking, you know what I mean? And it's randomized, so you can't quite catch it like in the previous games. Which is like, I see why, I just don't think it's a good idea.
Ring, it feels like there's a lot of downtime between each time I attack. And I'll be honest, it kinda gets boring sometimes. Now, to anyone who's going to try and dismiss this claim, I implore you to try this first. Do a fresh Elden Ring run without using Spirit Ashes, and then go do a fresh run on any other Soulsborne game, and you'll see the difference in aggression. The most aggressive bosses in previous installments are considered average by Elden Ring standards.
Below average, man. Seriously.
The only game with a
I've
similar
just
level of aggression
done
from the
that,
bosses is Sekiro, and that's because
yeah.
the combat is designed around it. I understand that From Software wanted to push the limits.
And also, yeah, they just hit like fucking tanks, so you have to put a lot of points in vigor, like, actually fucking have to. So that also sucks. Honestly, for me, like, I would say, even with all the shitting on Elden Ring that I have done already, for me the worst part is how much you have to put into vigor just to not get one shot. And like, here's a thing, how should I put it? I suppose they sorta countered how it was in older Souls games, like in the words of Asmongold, there is a difficulty setting in Dark Souls. It's called level in vigor. So yeah, I suppose they wanted to get away from that, but this is not the way. Because when you need to put a lot into a stat just not to be uncomfortable, that's just stat be existing to make you uncomfortable. That's ADP from DS2, you know what I mean? Like, Vigor is Elden Ring's ADP, straight up. And that's not good, to me at least.
of their veteran players. I also understand that spirit dashes needed to be balanced somehow, but I think they went
By not existing? Just saying, man.
overboard on some occasions. Just my 2 cents. Now, for the best quality in Elden Ring,
Like,
look, I'm
not
sorry,
a fan.
I know it's low-hanging fruit, but it's the truth. Size matters. It's the overall scale of the game. Look, From Software did the seemingly impossible and successfully merged the incredibly fun and rewarding combat and level design of the Soulsborne games with a massive, expansive, and meaningful to explore open world. This game is basically a massive Dark Souls with a little bit of Sekiro sprinkled in, and I'm saying that in the best way possible, because that's exactly what we wanted. The tried and true Soulsborne formula on a massive scale. That's what we wanted, and that's exactly what we got. The world of Elden Ring isn't just huge, it's packed with secrets. You may run into a random dungeon which can lead into a whole new area. You might open a chest that transports you somewhere else. There's so much stuff to explore and uncover. Truly one of the best open worlds of all time.
Alright.
And that
See,
was it, guys. What's your
here's my problem. Okay, I've been saying this a lot for Elden Ring. Like, here's the thing. He's glazing it, and, well, I said already that it's a world that doesn't have to be this big, and then they sort of failed to actually fill it up, in my opinion. But here's like the thing. It's good in terms of design. Like, yeah, everything fucking looks great. The scale is awesome. So, like, yeah, making it smaller would probably take away from it, sure. But he's glazing it here like it's fucking filled up with everything. Meanwhile, let's be real, if we think about like Liurnia or Altus Plateau or everything beyond that, I suppose most of the stuff before it as well, most of the time you are just straight up getting on the horse and running, and like you're not even just dodging fights like you do in most Souls games, when you know you do the run back to the boss and you are just waving around to not get hit and not touching any mobs. But like, let's get back to
meaningful to explore open world?
I know.
This game is basically
Here, Liurnia, for example, right? There are a bunch of these scarabs around with some useless loot, and then, like, there is nothing on this screen. There is no fights, there is no... I mean, I suppose it... Is it near where the key and the dragon is? But yeah, okay, there is one fight in the middle with a tiny dragon, but around it there is like a fucking square kilometer of nothing. Like, there is literally not a thing to be found. Okay, maybe some shiny on the ground, but no fights, no lore, no whatever the fuck. Like, it's a giant empty space. And not the only one. You see what I mean here?
Massive scale. That's what we wanted, and that's exactly what we got. The world of Elden Ring isn't just huge, it's packed with secrets. You may run into a random
Like,
dungeon
yeah,
which
there
can
are
lead into a whole new
secrets,
area.
there
You might open
are
a chest
random
that
dungeons here
transports you
and there,
somewhere
but
else. There's
it's
so
not
much stuff to
like,
explore and uncover. Truly, one of
it's
the
not
best
well
open
filled, you
worlds
know?
of all time.
And those
And that was it, guys.
random dungeons, as I have spoke about it already, it's a worthless dungeon with a bunch of loot in there, and a random fucking fight with same boss number 87. Like, that sucks. And these dungeons are there for loot, for example, yeah? So, why not put that loot in your empty fucking overworld? Like, why have a bunch of these dungeons if you that don't serve like much purpose in terms of lore or even looking cool or whatever? Why have so many of them when you can just put the loot from them into your empty fucking world? Like, come on.
What's your personal worst and best aspect of each Soulsborne game? Let me know down in the comments. Guys, if you like the video, then do me a favor and subscribe. It really helps me.
Okay. Well, I guess the disagreement was mainly on DS2, where he says it doesn't suck and I disagree. And it's mostly vibes based, so yeah. And I mean, Elden Ring is a big one. Like, to say that it's a fucking big scale open world that is well filled, sorry, I can't stand for that. Like, does it look good and feel good at that scale? Sure. It's fun to run, like, it's okay to run through stuff and just enjoy the magnitude, but it's empty. Okay. So, let's go to the channel here, because I'm pretty sure I missed at least a couple. Never mind. The daily dose is not so daily, huh? Like, not at all. Okay. Now let me just hydrate a bit. Right then.
Hello everyone, this is your daily dose of internet. So, there's currently a Category 5 hurricane in the Caribbean right now. The scientists flew their plane into the eye of the storm, and the wall is absolutely massive.
Fucking hell, man. Okay, I know that it's like the safest part, but what's your next move after that? That's not helpful.
Bro, your tire fell off. Bro, pull over. You don't have a tire on your rim.
Apparently she's fine.
This is the same
Nice.
material that is used on the heat shield of the space shuttle when it comes back to Earth. The scientists wanted to show how quickly it cools down after experiencing extreme heat.
So I'm gonna
Wait, how?
quickly put
Fuck?
down the blowtorches. I'm gonna attempt to pick it up. Here we go. What? What? I'm just picking it up with my bare hands.
Okay,
I'm so
I
hungry.
am not sure how the fuck that works.
The newborn baby.
He was super sad.
What was
Hungry
that?
I could eat a newborn baby.
I'm just picking it up with my bare hands.
I'm so hungry I could eat a newborn baby.
He was super sad because someone stole his ice cream.
Alright.
The artwork on
Good
the
job.
bridge is super cool.
Okay, that is... That just keeps getting better, holy shit. I was going to say this is far like in the beginning of animation, but fuck.
He loves to jump into the warm
Okay.
clothes when the dryer's done. I just found out that chameleons really love to pop
Fuck it,
bubbles.
launch it.
Good girl, get him. Good girl. Pop him. Pop. Yeah.
I bet he don't bend that corner without falling. He gonna fall when he bend that corner.
Okay. It would be better if he flexed like that and then actually fell.
Have a great day. Hi, Kayla. How was picture day? How you smile? Oh,
Why are you so mean, JC Butt?
Jace, I love you, man.
Oh.
Okay. Can
I
we
had
stop
no
with the
idea there was
kids?
something in this
They
tree.
are not as amusing as you think. Okay. And that's
I was
valid.
super confused.
Bro just doesn't give a fuck, huh? Please tell me it was a goat that made that sound. That would just make it so much better.
It's crazy that scallops
Bro
were made
sucks at
exactly
eating,
as if
that's
they
a
were in the
first.
cartoon.
Okay.
Ready?
What could go wrong? Accurate?
You want to go for a walk?
That's real.
How about a ride?
You want to go for a ride?
Nah, man,
I
fuck
had
that
no
too.
idea that this is how they put reflectors on the road. Young people are finding out that old TVs used to always give you an electric shock.
I mean, it's not much of a shock, it's just a bit of a tingle.
I didn't know it was possible to inhale a watermelon like this. I had no idea
What the
that
fuck?
silverways made slurping noises like this.
Another bro that sucks at eating, but in the
His office
entirely
conference room
opposite
has
way.
glass that blacks out what is being shown on the TV screen from outside the room.
Okay, I could use that.
This person was saved from getting run over by this train. This dog really thinks he's a crocodile.
Hey, I mean, bros are peeing.
You guys are gonna be such good mommies.
Valid.
Three times for a free car wash. Ready? He's gonna do it again. Please do it again. Come on, please.
Okay, that's fire. Oh, well, technically it's water, I suppose.
I had no
Like,
idea
what the
chickens
fuck
could
do you
that so
expect?
casually.
Awesome.
These fish have never seen a pumpkin before and were absolutely mesmerized.
Okay.
This poor fly.
Yes, I'm the greatest. Every breath is a gift. Sorry about the roller coaster. I'm just happy I'm tall enough to.
Cool. Yo, good result too.
Here's a headphone I made with a clamp, so if it's not tight enough, you just kind of turn it like this.
I mean, could be a bit more symmetrical, but honestly, yeah, useful. But they are kinda built to, you know, not do that.
Very soon.
Apparently, I was wrong. Oh well. Right. The absolute chaos of Bethesda. I honestly don't give a shit anymore. Okay. Science memes. Nah. I am too fried for that today. How it's actually made. I mean, it was fun once, but bro is kinda repetitive. TTS Skyrim? No. Coolest boss fight in every Souls game. Should I or should I not? I mean, I can always just close the tab. I might speed through it. Because, like, how the fuck do you make it 25 minutes? Unless you, like, go through every boss and then say it's... Okay, this one is the coolest. Well, maybe not every boss, but you know. Like, how do you fill that up? Fucking you casually explained, okay. That's... Huh. Bro is always unexpected with his rare uploads. Right. Okay, this probably isn't very good for reacting, but I don't know, just looks chill. The only 10 out of 10 open world games. I'm not sure if I've seen this one already, but fine, let's see if I will shit on that. Can you beat all the DS3 bosses in alphabetical order? Can you? Ah, I don't know, without exploiting, I don't think that's actually possible. I mean, just from the beginning, okay. I suppose, I mean, Udex Gander is probably already kinda fucking with that. Even if we say he doesn't, we have... okay, Dancer should be pretty early on the list, and you can go there, but like surely there is something with like A or B or... I don't know, man. I don't want to actually think about it. And that's just about all I can say without like actually trying to figure it out. Okay. Fine, I suppose it's enough for now. Okay. I guess I'll kinda skip through this one, cause...
Okay, I know the title looks like it was made by a 12-year-old, but let's not kid ourselves here. Soulsborne games have some of the coolest fucking bosses in all video games. And before we jump into the video, I just want to take a second to show you my credentials here. Yup, I platinumed all of them.
Fair.
And I even platinumed the damn mech game because I'm just that much of a FromSoft fanboy. Now, I wanted
Nah, I mean, why wouldn't you? It's fucking awesome.
to show you this for two reasons. One, to flex on the haters, obviously. And number two, I want to prove that I'm
Okay.
not some fuck at Watch Mojo who's just putting out his list of the day without not even knowing if he's even played the games. I've beaten all of the bosses in these games multiple times, and I put an autistic amount of thought into making this list. But anyway, in this video, I want to go over what I think is the coolest boss fight in every single Soulsborne game. So Demon Souls all the way up to Elden Ring. And since the word cool is kind of subjective and silly, the factors that I'm going to be taking into consideration are the lore behind the boss, the setting of the fight, the appearance of the boss, and the fight mechanics itself. So, while the Dragon God from Demon Souls is badass...
Bro could say he... Bro could go with just because I fucking feel like it, because that's basically what cool means, come on. But he really wanted to make this video 25 minutes long.
The fight has an obnoxious stealth gimmick the entire time, so that prevents it from beating out its competition. And of course, a coolest bosses list is obviously just my opinion. So while I did consider every single boss, let me know in the comments if you think another one edges out any of my picks, because some of these were definitely really close decisions. Especially Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring, because they just have so many cool boss fights inside of them. But let's kick off our list with Demon Souls. Now, this one was actually a pretty easy decision, since a lot of the Demon Souls fights are against disgusting-looking demons. And the main challenge of the game is usually the level itself, rather than the actual boss at the end of it, which is exactly what makes the next boss stand out so much.
I mean, just name is enough to be the coolest, I suppose.
The Penetrator. This badass was originally a knight of King Alant, and when the king released demons throughout the kingdom, he remained at guard near the palace, killing any men or demons that attempted to stop the king. But at some point, he himself became corrupted and turned into a demon, which we of course know as the Penetrator. And between his awesome armor and glowing red sword, I don't think I need to convince you on how cool this guy looks. In fact, everybody thought that he was so cool that they actually added his armor set into the remake because of how upset everyone was that they couldn't get it in the original game. He's also much more aggressive than most of the other bosses inside of Demon's Souls, which makes him noticeably more difficult than the rest of the competition. The boss arena is pretty straightforward, it's just kind of a rectangle with statues towards the center. He also gets an infinite amount of aura points for stabbing this annoying piece of shit when he's introduced. So yeah, coolest fight in Demon's
I don't
Souls,
have FPS,
definitely
so
have to give to the Penetrator, with not much
you
competition,
had me
to
at
be
his
honest.
name.
So let's move on to what is my favorite Dark Souls game. Okay, Dark Souls 1 is where it starts to get tough to choose the coolest boss. My heart immediately wants to say Gwyn because he's one of my favorite boss fights of all time. But when I look at my own qualifications for what a cool boss fight is, there's only one person that fits the
More
bill,
like,
and that is Artorias the Abyss Walker.
I mean, it's between Artorias and Ornstein and Snow. I don't know, to me, the word cool, seems more appropriate for ONS. I'm not sure why, it just does. But yeah, sure.
He was originally a Knight of Gwyn and was so powerful and trusted that Gwyn offered him a fragment of his
let
Lord
us
Soul.
skip the
And
log.
eventually Artorias met a great Grey Wolf named Sif, and the two forged a deep bond together for years. Now let's move on to a game that I love very dearly despite what everyone says, Dark Souls 2. Now even though I love Dark Souls 2, it definitely has a quantity over quality philosophy when it comes to the bosses. So while there are
Or, everything.
a whopping 41 bosses total, my final picks came down to just 3. So I wanted to give a super quick special shout out to Sir Alan, who does this when you kill him without taking damage.
Yeah.
And also the Burnt
Or
Ivory
stabs you
King,
when
who is
you
a very
stand to the side and he's stabbing to the front, but sure.
close second, having one of the coolest arenas in the entire series. And also one of my favorite Souls tropes of falling a massive distance into a hole to fight the boss in its arena. But after
Never understood why people love the Ivory King so much. I don't know, man. It is... Yeah, it's kinda cool, but I am just not feeling it, at least to the extent that people seem to be glazing him. I don't know, man.
After a lot of consideration, I have to give it to Dark Lurker. Now, like my other choices, this is probably where I would tell you about the lore of the boss. But
that's the neat thing. There is no lore. There is fucking nothing. I suppose when everyone has lore, it kinda makes him different, sure.
cool thing with Dark Lurker, we really don't have much to work with. And while it's not uncommon to not understand the boss you're fighting in this series, it is uncommon for him not to have any definitive answer 10 years later, which really makes him stand out to me as a lore nerd. So, unlike the other bosses, this is going to be me speculating based on my own observations. The fight itself is entirely optional and takes place in the Chasm of Old when we reach the end of the Pilgrims of the Dark Covenant quest. So yeah, usual Souls super hidden shit. But this chasm is the remnants of the Abyss from Dark Souls 1. So, I believe that this being is some form influenced or created by Manus, or more likely, the Four Kings, which would definitely explain his ability to multiply. Another interesting theory that I found online suggests that it is actually a mana, as in Shrine of Amana, as in one of the meanest areas of the game. When you look at Dark Lurker's design, it's almost like some kind of four-armed angel with no face. It uses magic throughout the fight in many different ways, from creating a sword, conjuring fireballs, or, like I mentioned earlier, creating copies of himself towards the end of the fight, which is just fucking pure chaos. And all of these things make Dark Lurker one of the most intense and difficult fights in all of Dark Souls 2, and one of the most mysterious fights in the whole series, which in my book definitely earns him the title as the coolest boss fight inside of Dark Souls 2. And now let's move on to a game.
Okay, hang on a sec. I am looking through the list. Because, you know, 42 bosses. Wouldn't want to miss anything. You know what? I would either agree with Dark Lurker, or I particularly like the Looking Glass Knight for some reason. I don't know, maybe it's just a lightning theme or whatever, but I just... it's one of very few bosses in DS2 that I actually like, and I kinda really like him for some reason.
Game that Sony seems to hate for some reason. Bloodborne. Now this game has some cool fucking bosses, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. The lack of defensive options in Bloodborne compared to Dark Souls leads to boss fights that are so much more faster paced than any of FromSoft's previous.
I have nothing to add, cause, you know, no PS. So yeah, let's just skip the Bloodborne.
Game in the Dark Souls series. Okay, now this decision was like impossible. Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring definitely have the most consistently great bosses in the series.
Uh-huh. Crucible Knight number 849 says what? Magma Drake number... Cerberus number... Troll... There was a couple more that are spammy as fuck, huh? Oh, and don't forget 50 Dragons. Sure, bud. Consistently high quality.
So picking only one coolest fight is really hard. So I want to give a really quick shout out to the two closest contenders for the top spot. The Nameless King fight is definitely the coolest fight in the base game, and as a Gwyn fanboy, it hurts not to put him or his son at number 1 on these lists, but there is just way too much competition. And it's the same thing with Midir. He's still my favorite dragon fight in the entire Souls series. And he even has that big drop into the boss arena that I really like. But no matter which...
I still like Calamite more. And also, like... yeah, I don't know, Nameless is mostly cool for, like, old nerds waiting for Gwyn's Firstborn since DS1.
The way I thought about it, I really cannot justify choosing anyone but Gale.
I mean, I would be torn between Gale because he's Gale and Frida because I just really fucking like the fight, but yeah, Gale is way crazier in terms of just like lore and shit, so...
What? Still here?
I guess.
Handed over that thing.
I mean, bro basically tanked his way through the entire existence of the world, and without even time skipping like player character, so that alone is something, you know?
Now Gale's lore goes deep. My lore write-up for him was originally 3 pages long, but I'm going to try and summarize it as best as I can. Gale himself was originally a slave knight, which, unsurprisingly, were used as fodder inside of battles. But at some point, Gale managed to escape into the painted world of Ariandel. Inside this world, he met a painter who was just some little girl. The two spent a lot of time together and eventually grew really close, with her even affectionately referring to him as Uncle Gale. However, her and many of the people of this world knew that the painting would one day rot, and they would have
Okay, well... yeah. No, that's so... I'll skip the lore part.
And I look forward to it every single time I replay Dark Souls 3. Without a doubt, the crown has to go to Gale. And now let's move on to the game that strikes fear into those who never bothered to actually get good at Souls games. Sekiro. I
Huh.
really adore this game. It was also the first time that a FromSoft title has
I
ever
really
won Game
don't.
of the Year, which is a
I fucking hate this fact. Like, I don't necessarily hate the game, but I fucking hate the fact that there was DS1, there was DS3, there was Bloodborne, and the first FromSoft game that gets Game of the Year is this shit.
massive accomplishment for a difficult game like this. And similar to my Demon Souls pick, this is another one where I had no hesitation in who was the coolest fight in the game. I have to give it to what I believe is the best final boss ever made, Ishin the Sword Saint.
I got nothing to add. I mean, okay, the best final boss ever is probably a bit of a stretch. Like what he's doing right now. But, yeah, definitely best boss in all the FromSoft games, and I don't even like Sekiro. So.
To see Ashina return.
Okay. Gotcha. Next. Okay.
And
Tell
like
me
I
about that consistent quality on Elden
mentioned
Ring.
earlier, Elden Ring and Dark Souls 3 were the hardest one to choose only one coolest boss. The highlights of the base game for me was Estelle and, of course, Melania, played of Mikola, who has never known defeat, blah blah blah, we've all heard it a million times. But FromSoft somehow does not miss with the DLC bosses, and that's where all of our finalists are. The first honorable mention being the Divine Beast Dancing Lion, who has one of the best intros for any boss in the
I actually still haven't gotten to the DLC because, I don't know, never felt like it. That being said, like, bro says Malenia, bro says Astel, like, you are talking about coolest. How the fuck is original Radan is not even mentioned? Hello? Bro jumps up into the stratosphere and returns as a fucking meteor. And you are talking about coolest bosses. Hello?
series.
Cleanse away the strumpet's fire.
And of course, Prime
I mean, yeah,
Radon
okay,
for
it was
obvious
cool.
reasons. But since I am also considering the fight itself, he did get pushed out. I honestly love how strong and broken he is, but I can't honestly say that I have fun actually fighting him. All of the bosses prior to this feel almost
Kinda my feeling about the game as a whole. Like, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's not that hard, but I'm just not having fun.
like a dance with a really strong enemy, while Prime Radon feels more like getting punched in the face over and over. So that leaves us with everyone's favorite mama's boy, Mesmer the Impaler.
Mongrel intruder. That tarnished, it seemeth.
You're just gonna play the whole cutscene? Also, not mentioning the... what's his name? Midra or whatever, the fucking Frenzied Flame guy.
Yet
Kinda feels like should have mentioned for the cool factor instead of just going, well, that's just Mesmer left. I don't know, man. Okay, and then it's all just Mesmer. Like, fair enough, but I don't know. Okay. So, casually explained is up next. Okay. And Gen Z versus Millennials. Right. Wonder what the fuck this is about.
When someone says they were born in the year 2002, I automatically think, damn, this is the oldest looking 6-year-old I've ever seen. Well, I wasn't
Yep.
using that one when they asked me about the island. I was born in 1996, making me just barely a millennial, meaning I'm somewhat of an expert on my older cohort who thinks doggo, pupper, adulting, and having an actual wedding to a real person they love is still a thing, while also being able to tell Gen Z that making fun of us for skinny jeans doesn't do anything. We inherited housing prices and 3 financial crises from the baby boomers. You will not even remotely psychologically affect us.
I mean, you will not even psychologically affect us. It's just you don't have to specify skinny jeans. It's just in general.
You will not even remotely psychologically affect most of us. The first thing we have to do is obviously define the generations, which in the textbook is 1981 to 1996 for millennials and 1997 to 2012 for Gen Z. Problem is, it can be hard to tell when you're kinda in the middle, because to the outside observer, Gen Z might look a lot older than they are on account of all the Botox and filler, whereas millennials look a lot younger than they are on account of all the Botox and filler, meaning you have to look at behavioral cues to tell the difference. Because us millennials are trying so hard to cling on to our youth, we're in fact only differentiable from Gen Z by 3 things: ankle socks, hairlines, and when a DJ says, "Put your hands up," we do it with an open palm, whereas Gen Z does it with a closed palm.
Huh. Okay, so I have a bit of Gen Z in me, at least for the last one, I suppose. Hairline. Yeah, mine is still fine. What was the first one?
Gen Z by 3 things: ankle socks,
Nope.
hairlines, and when a DJ says, "Put your hands up," we do it with an open palm, whereas Gen Z does it with a closed palm. Gen Z does this because you automatically close your hand when you associate with dropping down to the floor, whereas millennials raise an open palm because we don't think Black Lives Matter. While it might
Well, if you put it like that, nah, kidding. Okay, wait, so this way I guess I have a lot of Gen Z in me, huh?
might sound like I'm here representing my fellow millennials,
Sure.
I did only squeak in there by 1 year, and there are some millennialisms that are too ancient even for me. Take, for example, answering the phone.
I squeaked in by what?
Why?
3?
Similarly, Gen X still texts like they have an old school brick phone, meaning all of their messages are like, "Yo, bring drinks, see you at 5, sunglasses emoji," which is at least chill and straight to the point. Millennials, in contrast, have all evolved the 2-thumb texting technique, meaning they're able to send you a single paragraph long text like it's an email that you avoid opening at all costs until you really, really have to respond.
Yeah. Except, here's one teeny tiny detail. Although maybe it goes into rumors. I'm not sure. Every one of those lines is a separate fucking message.
Gen Z, on the other hand, sends multiple
Yeah.
messages to indicate punctuation or a different thought, usually ending it with a skull emoji to tell you they've died and will no longer be texting you back. If you're a smug elder millennial who's like,
So maybe I am not a rumor, but I definitely know a lot of them, huh?
"Why does my younger sibling send 4 messages back to back when they could have just typed it in 1 message? That shit is so annoying." First of all, if you're annoyed because you have your phone on vibrate when I'm texting you, you can stick it up your ass. Second, if you looked at literacy statistics recently, Gen Z doesn't know how to read, so they don't...
Like, okay, vibrate, not vibrate, what's the difference? Like, it says like fucking din 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 din, or it keeps fucking vibrating. I'm not sure which is worse, but I'm quite certain neither of them is better.
know how to punctuate in the first place. And lastly, multiple messages is clearly the superior form of texting, anyone except your boss, because it allows you to better punctuate your rap battles with the homies. If you think about it, line breaks are literally poetry. When it comes to socializing and how you like to have a good time, millennials and Gen X are notorious alcoholics, but Gen X also does cocaine and millennials instead do weed. Gen X are alcoholics on cocaine because it was the rock and roll culture of the time, whereas millennials are alcoholics and smoke weed because they all have anxiety and need to self-medicate in order to socialize. Gen Z, on the
Yeah,
other hand,
that's
was
about
very
it.
gently parented, don't even pretend they'll ever own a home, and never socialize publicly, so they just take Tren, Zins, and Goon for dopamine. One thing that...
Okay, I don't know what the first two even mean, but yeah, I have a bit of Gen Z in me.
Gen Z clearly outdid the millennials on is their slang, because just like high school, millennials also blundered the language on more than one occasion, coining such terrible turns of phrase as doggo, adulting, epic win, on fleek, it's lit fam, swag, I can't even, I did a thing, and calling any type of knowledge hacks. In contrast, Gen Z slang had a stranglehold on our broader vocabularies right away. For example, here's some Gen Z slang you hear all the time, which I will now translate in case it's not clocking to you.
Right, go ahead.
Let him cook. He's in the process of doing something well that isn't cooking, so don't interrupt him. She ate. She looked good or did something well that isn't eating. Riz. Charismatically flirting. Crash out. Mental breakdown. Shit slaps. It's really good. Fire. It's really good. It's different. It's really good. Bussin'. It's really good. Gas. It's really good.
Okay, I'm seeing a theme
No
here.
cap. For real. On God. For real. True. For real. Facts. For real. Deadass. For real. For real. For real. For real.
Please kill
One thing
me.
that older millennials have a terrible take on is that Gen Z has bad fashion. Gen Z has great fashion, especially compared to us millennials at the same age. Besides, when most millennials were teenagers, social media hadn't, especially compared to millennials have a terrible take on.
Nah.
Same age. Besides, when
No
most
fucking
millennials
way.
were teenagers, social media hadn't been invented yet, so instead of growing up trying to imitate the most liked Instagram trend, we had peace, contentment, and mixed and matched our clothing like a hand-me-down buffet exactly to our own taste. We didn't dress to impress, we dressed to express our deep cultural anxiety and fear of bothering our parents in case the baby boomers got mad at us, which they pretty much always were. You might not like it, but this was peak millennial fashion. To prove that Gen Z has better fashion than millennials, in today's social media, it's common for an influencer to be chatting up girls on the street like, yo, you're so pretty, can I get your number? And she's like, I'm 16. And the guy's like, oh my god, you can't be 16. What? I gotta get out of here, chat. Back in my day, you'd already know they were 16 because we were all ugly. Furthermore, Gen Alpha now thinks that overshoot digital cameras give a cool vintage look.
Sure.
Meaning, guess what? Low-rise bedazzled jeans are getting thrifted, and American Apparel hoodies are right around the corner. We are so back, baby. At the end of the day, ask most millennials, and we sort of feel
Back
we grew
to
up in
hell?
the best era to be kids, but the worst era to be adults. Gen Z, on the other hand, just thinks, wait, things were actually good? As an example, when someone says make America great again, Gen Z thinks you can't make something great again if it was always trash. But baby boomers think, I remember when me and Steve worked for Chrysler and Detroit was the richest city in the whole world. I bought a house for me, my wife, and my 8 brothers and sisters back when we were 23. But millennials here make America great again and think, remember the first 150 Pokemon, the Sega Genesis, Rock Band, growing up without a cell phone, when you made YouTube videos just for fun, getting free malware on LimeWire, using an iPod Touch to pretend to drink beer, how people would say, too soon. After you made the 9/11 joke, remember how badly we fucked up our teenage years, but it didn't matter because we had no social media? Remember smog? As I was reading this, I got nostalgic and remembered some more things, so I redid the video so I could keep going. Remember Del Toro Quest? Ordering things from the Scholastic Book Fair? The Bermuda Triangle?
Okay, that's a bit local. Bermuda Triangle, yeah, that was a thing,
Remember
though.
burning a CD? Remember CD drives in the first place? Remember when
Yep.
DLC was just another game called an expansion pack? Remember rewinding a VHS before you returned it to Blockbuster? I remember. Anyway,
okay, yeah,
millennials
that
are
was
gonna go
nice.
stare at the Winamp visualizer for a while. You guys can talk amongst yourselves.
Okay, yeah, but Winamp visualizer was fucking fire. Hello? Right, so this then, I don't know, there won't be much to react to here probably, but I still wanna check what this is. Right. Okay, go ahead on. Pink, one white super giant. Sun sky. Okay. Like, this just doesn't seem much different from ours, no? Okay. Right, I see what you mean, but I would stick with ours if this is a choice. This is kinda cool though. Like, already. Mostly just, you know, hey, big thing. And yeah, sorry, not reading that lore. One, 2 days ago, supernova, this world will likely be obliterated. That's a nice finish. Alrighty. That doesn't look like much. Like, I get the idea of picking a black hole, but, you know, could have went with one that's more like shit from Interstellar or whatever. This one is just cloudy. Double sunset. Okay, we're on Tatooine. I mean, this kinda sucks, like... The first one disappeared and doesn't do shit, and... I don't know. That is boring. Kinda like how it's going like purplish, but that's about it. Meh. Okay, not the main highlight apparently. See, now this is different, huh? Okay, this is kinda awesome on both sides. Looks normal at first, except it's not. Okay. Another black hole. Nah, this one is kinda in the middle, huh? Like, it's kinda cool that it's fucking massive, but just from a spectacle point of view, you know, not much. I already see that it's another black hole. Boring. Though, okay, give it a minute. Now it's kinda nice, you know. Like, in a more subtle way than the one, like, before previous one, but, you know. There is something to that. Okay, this is cool. A bit much though. Okay. That was nice. This is more my speed though. Like, there is a lot going on, and it's still kinda, you know, darker. And it's the last one, okay. So for favorite, it's either this one or the least subtle black hole. Right, well, this was nice. Like, nothing going on, but just nice. Okay, we have a short left. I never remember with this channel if I've seen this one already or not. Okay, shut up with the music. Alright, I think I've seen this one. Yeah. Also questionable. But not... I suppose it's not even about the game choice so much as it is like... big open world games always have like too many things that go around here and there to be 10 out of 10, you know what I mean? Like, just because of the scale, there is always something. Best game from each year. Is it like Game of the Year or is it his choice? Either way. Okay, movie logic and Fallout, I bet it's about Emma. Yep. Something about Emma. Okay. Alright, fine. Let's just quickly check that one out, and I suppose I will be finishing the stream, because, as I said, I still kinda need to deal with a few more things before tomorrow's stream. Okay, no arguments here. Supposedly no arguments here. Problem is, like, I mean, I'm not gonna just Google every year, so I don't have much of an idea, I guess. Oblivion, okay. Bioshock, can't really argue. Uncharted, Red Dead, Minecraft, okay. What year was Mass Effect 2? Cause it was certainly one of those last ones. And like, yep, fuck off. Like, someone fucks off. Also, okay. Either... Also, one of the previous was Skyrim. Like, come on, man, it's just... It may not be perfect, but it's way too big to not be put in there, sorry. Shadow of Mordor? I mean, I love Shadow of Mordor, but Game of the Year in 2014? Okay, now I'm actually googling, fuck it. Just video games 2014, and let me see just what Google shows. Far Cry 4, Alien Isolation, Stick of Truth, Dark Souls 2, Divinity Original Sin, the first one though. Lego the Hobbit. I mean, okay, from just the ones that Google immediately shows, I suppose it has a right to be put there. Like, there is competition, but sure. Okay, I respect that. What was Sekiro's competition? Like, I am a bit of a hater of simply the fact that it got Game of the Year when Dark Souls or Bloodborne, like any of them, haven't. But what was the competition? How is Jedi Fallen Order 2019 and Sekiro as well when it's basically a Sekiro clone? Ah, interesting. Wait. Hang on. It's not on the main, but hang the fuck on, I just remembered something. Ace Combat 7 is 2019. Yeah, fuck off with Sekiro. Even though I love Ishin, fuck off with Sekiro. Ace Combat 7 came out here. Ghost of Tsushima. You know what? Fine, we have not that many years left. Let me be a dick about it. Ghost of Tsushima 2020. Video Games 2020. I guess I shouldn't have closed. Okay. Doom Eternal, Miles Morales, Cyberpunk. Not fixed though. Okay, I mean, kinda fair enough, I suppose. Okay, let me just immediately slip in 2021. Here we have Resident Evil Village. I am not a big fan of Resident Evil. I don't know, they just... I don't know what it is, man. I just don't feel it. Okay, Mass Effect Legendary, but that's a remake. Nier Replicant, but that's a remake. Boy, that was a sad year, huh? I mean, okay. With that competition, I guess. 2022 Elden Ring. Sure, but what was the competition? Like, fuck it, I'll take it. Forbidden West, Stray, God of War Ragnarok. See, this is way better than the last few years. Query, Sifu. And that's just a bunch of titles that Google shows. Okay, that is steep. I still haven't played the Ragnarok except for, watching it, so I can't exactly say if it's better than Elden Ring in my opinion, because I am a bit of a hater for Elden Ring. Like, not even that I dislike it, but I just think it's overrated, and with how fucking way up it is rated, I think it's overrated by a lot, you feel me? Okay. Baldur's Gate, I mean, yeah. Just, yeah, no questions. Oh, and that was the last year here. Okay. I mean, this was respectable, I suppose. Just really reminded me of how we had a couple of really sad years in the beginning of 2020s. Also, fuck it. Hang on. Give me one more thing to check. Okay. 2017. Yeah, so give me Nier Automata here. Yeah. Just remembered about that. Okay, but otherwise, that list is certainly listing. Alright, well, this was nice to unwind, but I still need to do something before tomorrow's stream, so yeah, you have a good one. I hope I will not be having a terrible one. Bye.